Hi, I'm not wearing any pants, and this is Chilling in the Nightmare. Today's episode, if you can call it that, is we are talking about Connecticut. Why? Because I've seen one or two videos about things to know about Connecticut that people from not Connecticut don't know about Connecticut. And it's all like silly. It's about like the traffic is bad. We call this road something that's not very interesting. And also, we have a food that is similar to other foods, but called slightly differently. I'm like, this is what you got to say about Connecticut? Well, I was born and raised in Connecticut, and I know some things about this place, and I wanted to give my perspective on this place because I think it'll be useful for some people. I don't want to rush. There's a lot to say. I could probably go on forever about it. But we can start off, I guess, with the traffic thing. I am a truck driver. I do know about the traffic. We do have probably the worst traffic that you can imagine. The 95 south between New York and New Haven is the most congested road in the country. So it's by definition the worst traffic. But other than that, I mean, even coming up 84, you're going to hit the worst traffic that you can imagine, especially around the holidays or really any other time. Some of these drivers are demented. They're on drugs. They're drunk. They're old. They're young. They're liberals. They're foreigners. There's problems with these drivers. But that's like a boring thing that anybody knows about Connecticut that can tell you because they've driven through here. It doesn't get to the heart of anything. If you really want to understand Connecticut, one of the best ways to put it is kind of a sports thing. Is, you know, there's really two Connecticut's. There's the Yankees Connecticut and there's the Red Sox Connecticut. That'll tell you everything you need to know. And a lot of us, we feel as though the Yankees Connecticut should have been segregated and should just be part of New York anyways. Obviously, the Red Sox Connecticut is better because it's for the same reason you would want to live anywhere else. It's more rural. It's more comfortable. It's more chill. It's less chaotic. It's got less problems. Red Sox Connecticut is where it's at. Yankees Connecticut is, you don't want to live there. And if you do, then I'm sorry. Furthermore, that could also be kind of divided into east of the river and west of the river. East of the river, you're going to be further away from New York, which is the goal when you are in this place. Any closer to New York and you're going to have a bad time. And where I live is a place called the Quiet Corner. It's up in the Northeast, and people I know from other places in Connecticut, they consider this basically Rhode Island, which is a good thing because the best part of Connecticut is Rhode Island. I can assure you about that. But no, the Quiet Corner is the only, if you look at a map of who voted what in the last election, the Quiet Corner was the only red county in the three states of Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. There was no other red county in the entirety of those three states. So if you're considering moving to Connecticut, your only hope is in the Quiet Corner. If you're going to Massachusetts or Rhode Island or Connecticut, your only hope is in the Quiet Corner because it's the only red county out of who knows how many blue counties. I mean, there's a lot to say about this place. The big joke among people in Connecticut is that, you know, it's hell, but it's our hell. You know, it's a terrible place, but it's our terrible place. And it takes a long time, but it will eventually grow on you if you could adapt yourself to the warts and lesions and everything that's not so great about this place. One thing to know is that we get a lot of problems from people. They don't like the way we talk. because we swear. A lot of people, I don't do it on camera, but when I'm in my regular life, and especially because I'm a truck driver, we use the F word as kind of a form of or a form of like effing this, effing that, effing this, effing that. And people just swear a lot. And that's not unique to us, but the excessiveness of the swearing, I suppose, would be unique to us. It's kind of difficult for other people who are not from here to listen to us talking because of how much we're swearing. Even, females do this. It's not unique to just, guys. It's really the people from here are using the F-bomb as a version of like and and it's changed. It's become, we used to have a really nice white trash vibe going on that over the past decade or two has really been eliminated. And I think it was one of our better qualities was we were always kind of like gritty people. And Connecticut is a rough environment because we've got, socioeconomic problems. We're also a Democrat haven, one of the few, or too many, one of the all too many Democrat havens in the nation, which, as you know, does not create a preferable living environment. As, time goes on, we become more and more overrun by foreigners. And not just that, but I mean, the opportunities are minimal. In red states, you get kind of better working opportunities. And something about Connecticut that if you lived here, I'm sure you can understand, it's very difficult to get a job. And when I was young, living out in the quiet corner, it's just trees and forests and no job opportunities. And it made life really difficult because we never had any money. And so there's a problem with, it's hard to get money in this place because the job opportunities are so few and far between. This is lemonade with olives. So with the lack of money comes obviously an increase in drug problems. One thing about Connecticut, is we've got as many drugs problems as anywhere else, if not more. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. Obviously, it's a bad thing. But we got a lot of drug problems. But hey, we call our hoagies grinders. So, there's that. And we got a pizza, which is apparently a pretty big deal. We do have a lot of good Italian food. I've lived other places in the country where it's difficult to get good Italian food, but in Connecticut, you will not have that specific problem. On the signs, they just put up signs where when you're coming into Connecticut out of New York, it'll say, "Welcome to Connecticut, the pizza capital of the world." But obviously, New York is the pizza capital of the world. If you spend any time around New York City, that is as good as it gets. Specifically, Staten Island. Staten Island has the best pizza on earth, not Connecticut. But Connecticut, some jerkbag thing we would do is to troll New York and to say, "Welcome to the pizza capital of the world." And when the New Yorkers who come here are like, "What are you talking about? It's obviously us." Similarly, if you come down from Massachusetts through Springfield, Massachusetts has the Basketball Hall of Fame. And then a few miles down the road from the Basketball Hall of Fame, you'll come into Connecticut and it will say, "Welcome to Connecticut, the basketball capital of the world." And it's like, bro, that's obviously Springfield, Massachusetts, but it's just something about trolling Massachusetts. I can't remember exactly what it is, but if you come in through Rhode Island, it's like something about foodies, something about like, or artisanal food is on those signs. I haven't seen it lately because I know there's one out there where they're trolling Rhode Island somehow. I just can't remember what it is, but they're definitely trolling Massachusetts and New York. But that is kind of our identity. I mean, in a nutshell, is we are just trolling this whole region. Rhode Island's got a lot of great stuff going on, because if only because it's not Connecticut and it's not Massachusetts. If you're going to come to New England, Rhode Island is the best place to go, or Maine. Vermont is a tough place because it's so isolated. But I can't imagine anybody moving to Connecticut for other than, political reasons, where we've got programs for people and they just it's the overflow of New York, and so it's a difficult place to live because now it's overpopulated, where maybe a couple decades ago it wasn't necessarily overpopulated, but it was difficult back then. It's just more difficult now. But we can kind of start to get onto the bright side of the situation, which is if you live here, there's kind of a way to assimilate that you wouldn't know unless you exist within it for a really long time. And it seems like we've got a lot of rules and regulations, and it seems like it's, a Democrat police state, with things like gun laws and drug laws. Even though the Democrats are supposed to be super great about drug laws, the police state is not super great about drug laws. And when we were young, it was very difficult just to do our white trash things that we like to do, which take up most of our free time. I mean, but that's what I'm saying is, like, the pastime of living in Connecticut is raising hell. We didn't really have anything else to do. We didn't have any opportunities to be working, and we didn't have, we didn't have kind of the benefit of living in a cohesive society, like, in the red states, where everything's, very Christian and very civilized, and they've got nice things going on, or even, activities and things. But when you're here, it's just a mess. But you can weave in and out of that mess, and you can become in and of the mess, and you can really excel in your own, kind of do whatever you want to do, especially lately, because not just in Connecticut, but all over the world, but all over the country, they've got so many problems that it seems like people can get away with a lot more than they used to be able to, because the police state, as much as it would like to crack down on everybody, it's totally lost control. When I was young, the police state had more control, and I could tell you about all the problems I had with the police state, which were just, ordinary dirtbag problems. Connecticut is a really great place to be a dirtbag. They don't tell you that, but that's my favorite thing about it. That's how it grows on you, because it's just ordinary here to be a dirtbag. And, there's worse things to be than being a dirtbag. Dirtbags like to have fun. Dirtbags like to chase girls. We like to, drive fast. We like to break things and blow things up. And you're not supposed to. And, in terms of blowing things up, it's probably better out west. We're not, So there's things out west that, for a Connecticut person, we dream about it. Like, oh, I wish we had the freedoms to blow things up. Or, whatever, just, gun laws. Wish we had the freedoms to own the guns that we want, Just simple things like that. Or, I wish we had the freedoms to drive around without the police jumping down our throat all the time. But now the police got their hands full with, urban populations that, like, for instance, when I was young, I had a dirt bike, and I would get pulled over by the cops just for, like, even being on the road for just a little bit. And that was, like, out in the forest where I grew up. And now you've got all summer long and spring and fall, there's this kid doing wheelies on his dirt bike up and down along Route 6 nonstop. And I got pulled over like the first time I tried to ride a dirt bike on a road when I was that kid's age. And now he's doing it all day long, every day. So as an example of how you can get away with certain things here, that's one example of it. So yeah, that's, I don't even want to say it out loud because I don't want to change it, because you know how like when you observe something, you change the thing. And that's our best quality, is that, you know, you can really just kind of get away with not whatever you want, but you can get away with a lot because the situation is out of control. So maybe that's everything I really have to say about it. It's hard. It's not an easy place to be. It's not an easy place to grow up. But if you can get adapted to the chaos, it's, I wouldn't want to be from any place else. And, you know, we kind of have the thing, like, if you ever watch Seinfeld, they're always talking very fast, on Seinfeld. And we kind of got that from the New Yorkers, is that, you know, the New Yorkers think fast, talk fast. And we have that up in Connecticut too. We do think fast, talk fast. Maybe not so much in the quiet corner where you've got the dullards from further north. You know, the north is the south of the north, if that makes sense. So like when you get up into New Hampshire and Maine, you've got a lot of these, it's sad. I don't even want to talk about those people up there because I feel so bad for them. But on the bright side, they're probably happier than pigs in excrement, you know, in their brain. I think they're just drunk. It's not even like a problem. They're just, you know, they're just hungover up north. But down here, we try to keep it together. Not really, but maybe some people do. I do. I try to keep it together. I'm an ordinary tax-paying, fully functional member of society. But man, is that everything to know about Connecticut? What, I mean, if I sat here, the video would become very long. But, all right, so where do you want to live in Connecticut? I live around a town called Willimantic, which there's worse places to be. We call it Willarico because of all the Puerto Ricans that have, you know, immigrated there. And it's a good spot. There's other good spots. Let me try and think of the good spots to live and the bad spots to live. The good spots would be anywhere that's not a big spot, but that is a spot of some sort. The places you don't want to go are obviously anywhere on 95 that is west of New Haven. If you want to live along 95 east of New Haven, that's a different story, but don't live along 95 west of New Haven. That's for sure. Bridgeport, Norwalk, Stamford, with the exception of Stratford, which actually looks like a nice little place to be. Somehow they pulled it off. Just they were overlooked by the suburban sprawl. There's something going on in Stratford that they were able to, I don't know. I think that the paperwork, the people who are running Stratford have somehow devised the paperwork that they could keep all of the undesirables at an arm's length. So that covers the 95 corridor. 91, you know, goes from New Haven up into Massachusetts. Can I think of any place on 91 that I would actually want to live? Well, you know, they used to, this is a Connecticut fact, they used to grow tobacco up in Windsor. You know, there's, if you know about tobacco, Connecticut was kind of a big deal with cigars and tobacco leaves. We, you know, invented a new way of growing tobacco leaves that make really great cigars. And there's still tobacco operations happening in those areas, which tells you that there is some farmland. Bloomfield, you could tell, used to be a great place full of farmland, and now it's just a weird sort of, you know, sprawled out ghetto. But Windsor is a cool place. It's got the same kind of sprawled out ghetto vibe that Bloomfield has, accumulated. But Windsor, it's just big. Windsor Locks, South Windsor, East Windsor, Windsor. It's a big place, and so there's space there. So potentially you could find a spot in Windsor that would be decent. But there's, an area where I was looking at houses recently, and I was up in Stafford Springs, and that's a cool little location that has, it's just off the beaten path. Here's another thing. I don't know anything about Northwest Connecticut. In my mind, Northwest Connecticut is just New York or Western Massachusetts. The same way people say about me, you're just in Rhode Island. Well, to me, they're just in New York or Western Massachusetts, depending on where you are in that Northwest Connecticut area. But there's definitely some cool spots up there if you could get far enough away from Waterbury, far enough away from Danbury. Then there is potentially, I think it's, Winstead. It seems like a nice area out there. I don't know anything about it. I'm not from that area, but it does seem nice if you can get deep enough into Northwest Connecticut. But there's a reason all of that stuff is kind of cordoned off. There's probably not a lot there, and it's probably expensive. But in my mind, Willimantic is actually pretty cool compared to other places because we are not the other places. Like even Norwich, a nice thing about Norwich is it kind of got left over, forgotten by time. When I go to Norwich, it still looks like how things used to look, which is incredible because nowhere else looks like it how it used to look, except the thing that it's a lot darker than it used to be. All the buildings are the same and the streets are the same, but the population is substantially darker, much like the rest of the world. And as maybe I said this previously, I value white trash culture, which can be hard to find. But in my area where I am, we do, as our redeeming qualities, still have white trash culture. Norwich has white trash culture, but it's, being overwhelmed by every other trash culture. But it does look how it used to look. And then New London is obviously hoity-toity. It's too full of itself, and you're not going to have a good time. New London used to be cool. Everybody who's from here will tell you that New London used to be probably one of the best places in the state, but now it's just flooded with money, and you got no business being there unless you got a ton of money, and then what are you even doing anyways? This video, obviously, if you can't tell, is not for people with money. It's for people without money. It's for like regular people, because Connecticut is not a place for regular people. It's a place for the rich and the poor. It's not a place for the people who are in between being rich and poor, which is used to be most people. Now we're just all poor, which, hey, Connecticut is a place for poor people. That's a Democrat stronghold quality where if you don't have any money, it's probably a good place to be because you'll get the government benefits and the social assistance or whatever they call it, welfare, right? Didn't we just used to call it welfare? Something in my mind that keeps popping in is places like Tolland and Ashford and Eastford and not, I don't want to say another place, but Union, right? Union, Tolland, Ashford, Eastford, these are big patches of forest that are still a good spot to be if you can figure out how to be there. So man, I feel like I covered everything except for like 395 when you get up towards Worcester and up towards Massachusetts. There's this cool stretch of area out there that's got a lot of forest and not a lot of development, which if you can figure out how to be in that spot, that would be an awesome place to be because it's sparsely populated, which is obviously, as we're moving into the future, you can't do better than being sparsely populated. That's the best quality best compliment you can really give to a place, right? All right, so man, there's more I want to say about it. It's just like you can't really understand anybody until you've lived where they live and become who they are. One thing about Connecticut people is we are a very specific variety of people, and not always in a good way, predominantly in a bad way. But we are a very old place. We've got these cemeteries that are very old. If you're into, ancient cemeteries, we've got some great ones. These were the places where when I was no good, do nothing young person, I would like to hang out in these ancient cemeteries, which was, a part of my childhood, which I did not appreciate at the time. I should say adolescence. It was a part of my adolescence I did not appreciate at the time, but in retrospect, these ancient cemeteries are extremely beautiful and probably one of the best things about Connecticut. I said before, best thing about Connecticut is Rhode Island, because Rhode Island has Misquamicut Beach. And if you're in Rhode Island and you want to go to the beach, you go hang out in Misquamicut. And Misquamicut is, if you're in this area of the world, there's no better place to go than Misquamicut. It's the end all and be all of having a good time in this region, unless you want to go party at the casinos, in which case, we did that a lot, but that's not ideal because you're still at a place. But Misquamicut is a beach. In Connecticut, we got shafted by beaches. And it's like Long Island is the lament of our people. We will never, I don't know how it even happened that the New Yorkers got our beaches and we got the Sound, which I guess maybe if you're a sailor, it's nice to have access to a Sound. But for the rest of us who are not sailors, the Sound just is kind of not very cool because there's no waves. And if there's no waves, there's no beach. Right? So, but what are the beautiful things about Connecticut? We got these rivers, right? And we got these rocks from these glaciers that used to be here. This whole area used to be under a mile of ice. And we got these creepy rock walls that run all throughout the forest from when, we used to have agriculture. I guess it was sheep farming. They used to farm sheep out here or whatever. And they had all these rocks and they used it to designate their property lines. And just to get the rocks out of the fields from the glaciers they built these pretty epic rock walls that are just all over the place and really weird. They're ubiquitous, so you don't think about them too much, but they are super cool when you understand how many there are. They just go everywhere. I mean, there was probably a solid century or more of people just building these rock walls. And I mean, they're still there and they're super cool. And, and that's kind of the Connecticut thing is these forests, and when you go out into these forests, you're going to find these rock walls because they didn't used to be forests. They used to be, land people could use, but now they're just state forests or whatever. So yeah, before I finish up the video, I want to just touch on the natural beauty of Connecticut. The Connecticut River, as far as rivers go, it's an awesome river. When you're on any bridge crossing over the Connecticut River, just take a look at it. The thing is glorious. It's beautiful. I never messed with it too much, but I know a lot of people have had a good time around that river. These days in Connecticut, there's people going missing. There's evidently a serial killer up in Northeast Connecticut and kind of that area of Rhode Island and Massachusetts. We had a person go missing just from, down the road from my parents' house. We don't know where they went, but that's usually what happens with serial killers. A lot of times these people just disappear, and that's what happened. They found this woman's car, but the woman was gone. So I don't know what that's about, but I mean, I'm not going to talk about each specific place. I'm going to shout out Diana's Pool, right? I'm from the town that Diana's Pool is in. That's my spot. When I was adolescent, I spent all my time over at Diana's Pool. It's just, some glacial runoff. Not really, but it is, the meltwaters or whatever carved the thing out where all the rocks are, because it's just. But I mean, those rocks are everywhere. These ones just happen to be in a river. But Diana's Pool is a cool spot. It's, it's a big pool, and we used to jump off the rock and we'd swim in there all day long. Now they got this no swimming sign up there, but that's just Connecticut police state nonsense. But the police state, it ain't what it's used to be. Thank goodness, because it was, I'm sure the police state is more extreme than it ever was, but it's not keeping up with the population growth. So it's really, it cannot control the flood. Right now there's a flood of population growth, and the police state is helpless to do anything about it. So you can probably get away with a lot more than you think you can in this place. You can do things here you cannot do anywhere else, because there's nothing they can do about it. It's out of control from that perspective, which is, in my opinion, a good thing, but I'm sure other people would be unhappy about it. I didn't really get to the natural beauty. We don't have a beach. We got a lot of forests. We got rock walls. We got cool rivers, and awesome cemeteries. And I'd sit here and tell you more, but the video's getting long. So that's what you would need to know about Connecticut from I shouldn't say ordinary perspective, but how about a white trash dirtbag's opinion of Connecticut? There it is. Deuces.